Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back, and today we're going to talk about why I sold the new Nikon ZF in favor of buying a Leica M10. So this video, guys, is mainly targeted at people like myself who really love the analog experience. You're film shooters like myself, or you love retro style cameras, you love your Fuji cameras, things like that. You really appreciate the design and the look of the Leica cameras as well. But essentially, you're thinking about buying a Nikon ZF, not Nikon, a Nikon ZF, because of the retro styling, because it looks amazing, amazing body. It just screams sex appeal, and I still think it does as well. But I sold it after owning it for only a week. I refunded it, sold it, and I ended up buying a Leica M10 instead because that's just a better camera for me. But there's a few reasons why I just didn't gel with the Nikon ZF that we're going to talk about today, and why I favor the Leica system and the Leica M10 specifically over that camera. So we'll get the bad out of the way first and then talk about the good. The first thing with the Nikon ZF is the EVF. It's no surprise and no shock to a lot of people who watch this channel. I don't like EVFs. I much prefer an optical viewfinder of a DSLR or a rangefinder or a film SLR as opposed to looking through a tiny little screen. I just don't enjoy the sort of process of taking photos. And the EVF in the ZF, while it's good, it's not a bad EVF. It's the same as every other EVF. It's roughly around the 3.5 million dots. It's not bad. I just don't like the experience of using EVFs, that bit of shutter lag when you're taking a photo. Just essentially looking at a computer screen is not the most ideal way to photograph for me. Next, the big one, guys, is the ergonomics and the weight of the ZF. I found the ZF to be possibly one of the most uncomfortable cameras I've ever held in my hand. It was too heavy. I thought the including of the brass and top dials and stuff like that, which added to the weight, definitely sounds good on paper, but in practicality, it made the camera a lot heavier. And the ergonomics, the camera was too thick, but I just found in general the ergonomics on it were horrible. It felt just like an uncomfortable brick. It wasn't comfortable to use the buttons on the back to change the dials while holding the camera. It looked great, but in practice, it was heavy, it was uncomfortable, and it wasn't nice to shoot with. Next, the manual focus experience, which was a big one for me. Now, I already had, before I even bought the camera, a Leica M to Z mount adapter because I still have my M lenses, and I really wanted to use Leica M lenses on the ZF. I thought that was going to be fantastic. That's why I only purchased the 40mm f2 lens that came with the ZF, because I had my Leica lenses on standby, and in my head it was going to be manual focus, all manual camera dials like a Fujifilm, but full frame. So instead of like using Fujis in the past, my Leica lenses would have a crop factor applied to them. Well, ZF is full frame, so my 50 is actually a 50 on the ZF, and I was really excited for that. But I found that in practice, it just wasn't that good. It was no different than the manual focus experience using M-mount lenses on any other film camera. I think that's on me. It just wasn't as exciting as I thought it was going to be using the manual focus lenses on that body. And I didn't think that the EVF punch-in and maybe the sharpness of the EVF, I just felt like there was a lot left to be desired while I was using the manual lenses. And I ended up favoring mostly using the 40mm autofocus lens that came with the camera because it just didn't live up. The experience just wasn't as good. Now, all of that coupled together, guys, I just felt like it left the analog experience and the retro experience, which is what the ZF is aimed at. It's not aimed at at your modern mirrorless camera shooters. It's aimed at people who want that bit of retro styling and analog feel, manual experience. I just felt all of those things combined left a lot to be desired, and I just really came to kind of dislike the camera in only the short period, the week that I had it for, which I think is enough to get to know a digital camera these days. But I just did not enjoy that whole experience, and I just had to let go of the camera. Now on to the pros, because there are pros to the ZF. It's not all doom and gloom. For the first and biggest pro, and I still think it's true, is the looks. The ZF still is a sexy camera. I mean, I always thought the ZF-C, the crop sensor one, was a sexy camera to look at, but that camera was like a catfish. You know, you looked at it, it looked cool, and as soon as you picked it up in your hand, it felt like a cheap plastic toy. Well, the complete reverse is true of the ZF. You looked at it, it looks amazing. You pick it up, it feels heavy, it feels solid, and initially it seems like, wow, this is, you know, going to be an amazing analog experience, analog styling camera. In my case, it didn't pan out that way, but I still think Nikon hit a nail on the head and the camera looks superb. I even think it looks better than all the Fuji X system cameras. Nikon definitely did a better job. And the second pro I think about the camera, guys, is the price. So for 3,500 Australian dollars body only, I think you get a lot of camera, full frame camera for that money. Yes, the Fujifilm cameras are cheaper and the experience is relatively the same, but I feel like the ZF for that price has a whole lot of features in it, good image quality, good autofocus, amazing looks, and it's full frame. It really is, you know, as far as price goes, they banged a whole lot into such a small package, and it's definitely worth it on that front. And now on to the bit you're all probably waiting for, is why the M10? Why sell that camera and purchase an M10? Well, there's a whole lot of reasons why, and I'll try and be as quick as possible, but let's dive straight into that. This is the second time I've owned this camera. The first time I sold it was because I couldn't afford, I went back to a film Leica M at the time. I couldn't afford to have both. I couldn't afford to have the Leica M10 because it was still kind of new, still really, really expensive on the secondhand market, and I couldn't afford to have that alongside a Leica film body. Well, now I actually do have the Leica M6 and a Leica M10 running in tandem, and this is camera heaven for me. It's complete camera zen as well, I should say. Workflow, it's seamless between the two. All manual focus, manual lenses, fantastic. So that's the other reason I wanted to go back to the M10, because you know what, I could afford to get an M10 because they're a lot cheaper now than what they were when they came out, and even more so now that the M11 has come out. The price on these has dropped again. So they're still not affordable by relative terms, but they're becoming more affordable as the newer Leica cameras come out. Now, as someone who wants the analog experience in a digital camera, this is the pinnacle of it. You can't go past the Leica M series, whether you're buying an M8, 9, 10, 240, 262, M11, monochrome, whatever the case is. If you are really wanting that analog experience with a digital camera, the M stands above all others as far as I'm concerned. True manual focus, rangefinder, optical viewfinder, minimal designs and buttons, amazing ergonomics. The way the cameras are designed, they fit. I personally think it's much more ergonomic camera than the ZF. They fit perfectly in your hand. Beautiful to look at on top of that. Then it's, you know, all the manual stuff, manual exposure. You can do everything on the top of the camera, especially with the M10. You don't even have to, if you don't want to, turn on the menus or anything. You can just simply go ISO, shutter, aperture, all without having to look at a screen. It is the pinnacle of somebody wanting that, and that's why this is much superior to the ZF, and why personally, one of the reasons I went back to it. Second, no obvious, we've already spoken about it, no EVF. I don't like EVFs. If I don't have to use an EVF, I won't. I love an optical viewfinder. I love a rangefinder. It makes much more sense, and I have a much better time shooting this camera than I did the ZF. So weight and ergonomics was definitely a big factor for me. Like I said, I didn't enjoy the way the ZF feels in the hand. The M10, far better on both fronts. The M10 is about 50 or 60 grams lighter than the ZF, if you can actually believe it. And the ergonomics, having a much thinner body, the way Leicas have designed them over the years, the curved camera fits perfectly within the recess of your hand there. Much more easier to use, manual focus experience, much better, ergonomics much better, lighter. It ticks a whole lot more boxes as far as ergonomics and usage than the ZF-C. Now, as far as image quality, guys, there's nothing you can really say about both. They have either the same or a very similar sensor. The 24 megapixel sensor that's in the M10 here would be very similar, if not the same, just with Leica's color science, than what is in the ZF, because the ZF has the same one that was in the Z6 II and the Z6, and I'm pretty sure from memory that was also the same one that was in the Panasonic S1, which I think is the same one that's in here. So to be honest, Image quality off the 24 megapixel sensor wasn't a deciding factor for me. 24 megapixels is enough for me. You know, and then being able to use M mount lenses on both. So image quality was kind of a wash between the two, and that definitely should not be a deciding factor in why you choose a Leica over the ZF if you're thinking of doing so. So there you have it, guys. Those are the reasons why I sold the ZF, why I prefer the Leica M10 camera, the Leica M system in general. Maybe it's something you were thinking about. You were thinking about, oh, I've always wanted a Leica, but hey, maybe the ZF ticks enough boxes for me that I can save some money and buy the much cheaper ZF as opposed to a Leica M. Maybe this video helped you in some way in deciding, or if you're on the fence. Either way, thanks for watching, guys. Happy shooting, and I'll see you in the next episode.